I'm Tracy Williams, your host, and welcome to Bounce TV, your one-stop shop for the tools you need to build a resilient, impactful, and successful life. A show with guests who are the best in the business at winning the game of life and in sports. So get ready for transformative and powerful information in this episode. Let's go. Well, look, man, I'm going to jump right in. I ain't going to take up too much of your time. But again, thank you so much. I don't know how much you really kind of know about us, but like I said, at Bounce, in that big abyss of people that's teaching kids and working with kids with basketball, we're primarily a social program that uses the game to kind of teach kids the life skills that they're going to need, which we always say, man, it's the big game of life, man, that really counts. And I'm really excited about having you on today because you kind of epitomize, I think, more than an athlete. You've not only been a great basketball player for throughout your career, but you're outspoken. You got an opinion. I kind of love what you said before on one interview. You said, I'm a common sense guy. And that really, really rang clear, it hit me right, man, about being a common sense type dude. So real quick, man, I just want to just ask you, your career, when did you kind of set your mind on the fact that, hey, I want to be, a great basketball player? I don't know, maybe it was NBA, but at what age and how did that come about that you knew that you wanted to be a great basketball player?
It's for me, as a kid, I always loved sports, and then got involved with basketball about 9 years old. I just immediately fell in love with the game, playing outside, playing with friends, playing at school. And a goal for me wasn't the NBA. I didn't think that was achievable, just because, percentages and track record of Australians making it to the NBA. The only guy that really made it and stuck over the last 20, 30 years when I was a kid was Luke Longley, right? He was a 10-year pro and, won championships, played with MJ. Other guys made stopovers, Andrew Gay, Shane Hill, Chris Anstey, but no one stuck. So I was like, my odds aren't too good. So I just kind of thought, like, that's kind of a unicorn or a pipe dream. Like, it'd be great to play in the NBA, but I don't think it's achievable. So for me, a goal was just to be able to play professionally. So back then, we didn't know much about Europe. It wasn't on TV, so you didn't really know much about international basketball. So for me, it was the NBL. I was like, if I can play in the NBL, that'd be awesome, So that was a goal of mine. Like, I always had the mindset of, if someone gave me money to play basketball, that's utterly ridiculous. To do something like that, and that I loved so much, I couldn't get my head around as a kid, right? You're like, how can someone pay you to play a game when I see my dad busting his ass or whatever, making a living? So that's kind of how my mindset was. And then I just spent a lot of time, practicing and just I truly love the game. So I think that was probably the differentiating point from myself and a lot of kids that were way better than me at 10, 11, 12, 13, So that's kind of what got me to the next step.
Now, I know you kind of came up. Now, I'm new here to Australia. I've been here about 5 years, and I'm starting to understand about reps and different things. As an American, we basically played high school basketball because our high schools played against each other. And I mean, you could even be at a high school that had an international schedule that traveled around the world and played. I know it's a little different here, but was it in the reps program, or maybe, I don't know, I don't even know if AIS was around when you came out. At what level when you started to think, say, you know what, I might have a shot at this?
Well, for the NBA, it was real late. Like, my journey's kind of a strange one, where I was kind of never the best player as a young kid. So under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, under 18s, it was always someone else, or he's never going to make it, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I had basically a 2-year window where I just came out of nowhere. 2002 to 2005 was the biggest jump. So 2002, I go to the AIS, get a scholarship there. I'm there from 2002 and 2003, go to the World Junior Championships, kill it, win a gold medal, first one for Australia ever in the 19s, get MVP, go to the University of Utah, and then within 18 months, I'm drafted number 1. Like, that's how quickly it happened for me. Where I was before the AIS, I was an unknown. I was relatively unknown outside of maybe a few people locally in Victoria where I played. Not many people knew who I was, especially on the world level. So even on the national level, because I went to junior Australian camps, and I'd never been to a nationals. Like, I got cut from the under 18 state team. I got put emergency, so if someone got hurt, I got to go. So I didn't go to the nationals. But then 4 months later, I got invited to the national team camp for the juniors, which is unheard of. Usually they recruit guys that are at the nationals because it makes sense. They're supposed to be the best kids from every state. So when I showed up to that camp, no one even knew who I was. I was like, who the hell is this guy? So it all kind of came together really quickly. So I'd be lying if I said at 14, 15, 16, I knew I was going to make it. I knew the NBA was achievable. No way. And then even with that journey from the AIS, I still, the NBA was just seemed so far away. But yeah, just came to get there within 18 months, freshman, sophomore year, and number 1 pick. It was kind of crazy looking back how quickly it all just kind of happened.
But man, I seen you play, man. You still to me one of the most skilled big men. I mean, the way you see the floor, the way you pass the ball. I remember I'm 6'6", and I remember when I played in Division I college basketball in America. If we had a big man, especially like you with your skill set, our coach would immediately say, "Play through Bogut. We're gonna play through you. That ball goes to you, and every time down." Based on like what you were saying, obviously, even though you thought you didn't, you weren't sure you had a chance to get to the NBA, obviously, man, you were still putting that work in, and you were still doing those reps, and you were still, spending that time in the gym because, you don't just wake up and have the skills that you have. What was the inner thing that was keeping you going when you was seemingly toiling in obscurity, before the light was ever shined on you? What was keeping you going?
There was a number of things. Basketball was kind of my outlet from family and school and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't a horrible student. I wasn't a great student. I kind of didn't overly apply myself to school. I overly applied myself to basketball, if that makes sense. So I was kind of like a B, C student for the most part, but with not a whole lot of application, to be honest with you. Like, I focused on basketball. I'd be sitting in English class or maths, drawing pictures of basketballs on my paper, right? Like, it was, that's all I would think about. I'd go to, IT class and just print out stat sheets from NBA.com, and just read all that kind of stuff. So there was that. I knew that I didn't want to go into an industry like my father, like breaking his body for, not minimal reward, but not a lot of reward, being in the labor industry or, as a mechanic, obviously. So there was that. And then just being told all throughout my childhood that I'm not going to make it was kind of, it wasn't so much proving those people wrong. It was just, I knew the love I had for the game. I knew how much time I spent on my game, even before organized sport, organized basketball. I was outside in the backyard so much that my dad put floodlights on we had a small little area with a hoop. He put lights out there so I could shoot. In Melbourne winter, it gets dark at 5:30, so I could shoot till 9:30 at night. Right, I'd shoot basically till the neighbors came out and started losing their mind because the ball was bouncing so much. So I knew my love for the game was great, and I wanted to be, in that limelight one day and playing in front of thousands of people. And then, there was also that fact that, as a kid and as a junior, I was always told I'm not good enough, or you've got these problems, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And I just it was hard to hear that as a kid. But I think if I was told the opposite, I probably wouldn't be here. Like all the kids, it's interesting the psychology behind it. Most kids that are the best at 11, 12, 13, 14, they don't make it. Like a higher percentage of those kids don't make it than the kids that were told they suck, right? Because I think you get comfortable, and as a young kid, you probably don't have to earn it as much because you're just naturally talented. Where I wasn't that guy at 11, 12, 13, and was told every day that you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, and it was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to keep my head down and keep quiet and just keep putting in time before school, after school, 6 a.m. workouts. I'd walk to the bus stop with a ball in my hand, right? Like catch the bus to school and have a ball, and I just dribble. Just doing stupid stuff like that I thought would help my game, and I just took it really seriously. But at that age, I didn't think it was serious because I love the game so much. So it wasn't like, what do I need to do to get to the next level? Tell me. It was like I just automatically did it because I loved it. It wasn't forced. I think when it becomes forced as a young fella, those kids never really make it neither because they burn out very, very early.
So basically, like the love just drove you. I mean, because I remember seeing you playing down at the Marvel Arena, and when you guys beat the U.S. team, national team there, and are you catching the ball? I still see you catching the ball up in the high post, and you and Patty do it. That dribble handoff type move up there. I mean, man, we just see like the U.S. team, man. We couldn't figure out what you guys were doing. Then we play Patty. Then you roll to the hole and hit us with that left hand, right hand hook, or you hit somebody else cutting to the hole. Where do you develop those senses, man, to see the floor? I mean, just to seemingly to make the right pass every time. I mean, was it because you were playing with a lot of great players growing up, or I mean, where does that sense get developed at?
I believe I watched a lot of basketball as a kid. I believe that was an instrumental part of kind of my basketball IQ. I watched so much basketball I could. In Australia back in the day, there was only a little bit of NBA on. It was one game of the week that was on, and then it was NBA action. So I'd record those, and then I'd watch those on repeat every day of the week until the next weekend, and I'd record another set. And I'd watch every NBL game, any basketball that was on TV, I'd record it on a VHS, the old school way, and I'd watch it every day. So much so that I'd build up a collection of 10, 20 tapes for that season, and then I'd watch those tapes in the off season because there was no basketball on TV. So I watched so much basketball that I think that was a big part of my basketball IQ and just my feel for the game. And then I try to emulate that stuff in the backyard by myself. Like I'd emulate. I watch the NBA action used to have a top 10 countdown every week, right? Top 10 plays of the week was like my favorite segment, right? I try to emulate all those fancy plays and all those big plays and the buzzer beaters and the behind the back passes and just 1-on-0 in my mind. And I think that was big. I had, I was a tall kid at 11, 12, and then I stopped growing for a bit. For about a year or two, I didn't really grow much. And like most kids overtook me. I hit puberty real late. So what that meant was I moved from, 4 or 5 man to a 2-3 for about a season to 2 seasons. So I was like, bringing the ball up, and my ball handling was forced to get better. And that was great as well because it taught me how to handle the ball and pass the ball and see the floor as well. So but I definitely think it was just the amount of time I spent watching the game.
Yeah. Tell me going to Utah. What was that like coming from playing basketball in Australia, then going to university, a Division I university there in America? Because that's when I first saw you. I mean, when I first saw you on the scene when you got to Utah. And people kept saying, man, they got this Australian kid, Andrew Bogut, man, he nice. And I'm old school, so we hard. So, we like act like we gatekeepers. So we just said, I don't know. I got to see him. I got to see check him out. He at Utah. What's that? The Big Sky Conference or something? I mean, who he playing against down there or whatever. But, how was that for you mentally making that transition? Because normally when people come from other countries to America and they come in at that Division I level, that smack of reality or whatever hits them, they normally kind of stall out, but you didn't. You picked up. I mean, you just kept coming stronger and stronger. What was your mental at that moment, and how was that when you got there?
Yeah, that sounds like it was an easy ride, but it wasn't. My freshman year, I came into a whole new country, a whole new way of life, a whole new city. I wasn't a phone call away from my parents anymore because there was a time difference. It was very expensive to get on the phone. I was kind of isolated, right? So I was real homesick at different periods, and I had probably, arguably, one of the toughest college coaches in the history of the NCAA, Rick Majerus. Very unforgiving, very brutal, very defamatory. And he was tough. Like it was over the line. It was like I always joke, and I mean, rest in peace. He's obviously passed away a number of years ago. But if he coached today, he'd be gone within 2 weeks. All it would take was someone to record one training session and upload it on social media, and he'd be done. So that was a huge test to how much, made you realize how much do you really love the game, because I saw kids, teammates of mine that were Mr. Basketball from their states in high school that we recruited. We had 2 or 3 Mr. Basketballs, one from Utah, one from Wisconsin. They quit basketball after a year, quit completely. I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, it's not that important to me. It's too hard mentally because Rick was so hard. So my freshman year was up and down. I finished averaging just under 13 and 10 a night. But I felt like I didn't even scratch the surface and show people what I could do, because I felt like Rick, as good as he wasn't great at instilling confidence in his players to play freely. He was really methodical and robotic, and you were so scared to make a mistake that you can't play basketball that way, right? Like, you can't play on the back foot like, oh, coach is going to sub me out if I make a bad pass, or if I take this risk, or that's a part of sport. If it happens 5 times in a row, it's a different story, but you have to be able to take risks. So I struggled with that. I almost didn't come back for my second year. If Rick was coaching my second year, I probably wouldn't have come back. I would have went to Europe most likely. But then he resigned mid-season my freshman year. We finished off the season, went to the NCAA tournament. That was a great experience. And then we had a new coach come in my second year, Ray Giacoletti, from a small school, Eastern Washington. And was, to your point of what you said earlier, he came in and said, we're running everything through you. We're going to post you up a lot, but I also want you playing out of the high post. I want you're our point guard, you're our go-to guy, you're our scorer. We're going to go as far as you take us. And we weren't even picked to win conference that year because Rick Majerus left. He was there for 20 years, a legend. He left, new coach that's relatively unknown. We lost a bunch of seniors, and we end up having one of the best years of University of Utah basketball that we've had, with a team that wasn't supposed to win. We ended up going to the Sweet 16. We fizzled out against Kentucky. They had 3 7-footers that they rotated on me and just beat the crap out of me, and they did a fantastic job. But all in all, we overachieved with a squad that probably shouldn't have been that deep in a tournament. And it was, just an amazing experience. I really enjoyed my college experience, being around a lot of good people, a lot of good relationships. And you look back at the basketball journey, in mine at least, and my most enjoyable basketball was probably from 16 to 21. So junior national team, AIS, Australia, and college was probably the purest, most enjoyable aspect of basketball, because beyond that, you then get to the NBA and it becomes much more business, much more brutal, much more, smile on your face and stab you in the back kind of mentality. That's pro sports. It is what it is. So I guess those college years really are, a really good time.
Well, this is so good, man. What you're saying, because it's awesome. I'm just saying that for the personal, because I know some things too, but you're the number 1 pick, man. Like if you were in a room at a banquet and it was filled with great NBA players, and say Michael Jordan is in there, and they say everybody that was a number 1 pick stand up, you could literally turn around and say, hey, man, keep your seat. Just finish your breakfast. You and to me as an American, they saying you're the best basketball player outside the NBA in the world. When you came in, tell us what that whole ride was. You told us a little bit, and I want you to stay with that too, because I really want kids to understand how the mental side of it is so challenging. That it's not just going from the gym, one gym to the arena and playing basketball. I love how you talk about the difference between playing and playing freely and stuff. So in that theme or that vein, tell me when you found out that you were going to might go number one, and just take off from there and tell me the rest of it.
Yeah, so going to my sophomore year, I was picked to be a late first potentially because I went to the Olympics between my freshman and sophomore year as a 19-year-old, represented Australia, played against Team USA. Tim Duncan had a really good game against the US, and people were like, who the hell is this kid? A college kid playing well against grown men. So I came back my sophomore year, and I felt like after that Olympic campaign, a lot changed for me mentally. I felt like I was just playing against grown men. Now I'm going back to college against kids again. I felt like I was better than that, and I just, with every month of my college season, my sophomore year, I went from late first to, okay, he's top 20, okay, he's top 15. And then by like March, April, which was tournament time, it was like top 10, no, top 5, no, top 3. Oh, he's top 2. And I kind of knew after I finished school that I was going to be a top 5 pick before the lottery. And then the lottery happened. I was at my agent's house. We watched the lottery. Milwaukee get 1, Atlanta get 2. My agent says, you've gone top 2. You're only going to work out for 2 teams. So I didn't work out for anybody else. I only worked out for those top 2 teams. And they wouldn't tell me. The team wouldn't tell. I mean, Milwaukee wouldn't tell me whether they'd take me number 1. They wanted to keep it a surprise and organic. We had a feeling they would. But Atlanta was the number 2 option. So yeah, ended up just going to New York, flew the whole family in from all around the world, Croatia, Australia, and yeah, it was a whirlwind how quickly it happened. So yeah, just amazing, and it all kind of came together really quickly. And to be the first name called at a NBA draft, you're in the green room, shake David Stern's hand, pretty amazing feeling. Like I still have the photos and a few memories and items that I just moved houses not long ago actually, and I had a lot of stuff in storage. There's like boxes and stuff all around me right now that you can't see, but it's got all different stuff I've picked up along the way. So it's been fun actually going through all that. I just found the ball that was on our table from the draft. I just saw that yesterday out of a box. So pretty cool going through all that stuff.
Wow. Man, look, you done got me thinking about at least another hour of interview stuff, because you just so descriptive. And because I the thing I kind of always want is these kids to just get an idea, to share your experience, and I tell them, I said, you got to think like the people who've done it. That's the pathway. I've already got Stacey does send me a thing saying our time is getting down low on this. Hey, so I'm gonna just ask you on the time, if there's any way we can do a part 2 of this or whatever, whenever you got time, I would love to do it, because I just think, man, you just got a treasure chest of stories and your thoughts. I've watched you since you ended your career and on your podcast. Just an interesting person, man. It's a lot of times people know us as athletes, but they don't really know us as men and as women and people who are interesting people. And I would love to, man, just get a chance to explore that a little bit more with you, because again, at Bounce, we're trying to develop leaders, man. I feel like one day a future prime minister is going to come through our program, because again, the basketball is important, but more importantly, man, we want them to be able to win the game of life. And so I don't know. Hopefully, you think maybe we could get together again and do this at some other time? Maybe we can get set.
No doubt. I mean, it's a good thing you guys are doing. I think for all the youth listening, I guess the one message would be just if you're doing all the right things, you might not get seen, you might not get noticed for years sometimes. If you're doing the repetitive work and you're putting in more time and effort than the guy next to you, someone's eventually going to see it, but sometimes it takes years. Sometimes you don't get that immediate reward. And I think all good things, whether it's life or whether it's sport or whether it's school or whether it's whatever, they come with time and they come with the bad, right? Like you have to go through the trenches and dig yourself out of crap every now and then to get to really appreciate when you get to the top. So it's what I tell kids all the time is like, if you're truly putting in the work and you're truly doing not just the minimum, if you're doing everything you can and more, it'll eventually work out for you. If you're just saying #rise and grind and you're posting a photo at the gym once a week thinking that's going to get it done, you're lying to yourself. And kids know, people know, human beings know. You know if you're putting the work in. Now, are there people that put the work in and sometimes get unlucky? Sure. But they will, if they've put the work in and just missed out, they'll be good at something else down the line. So I think this is kind of that no excuse mentality of like, if you're putting in the work, things are going to work out. So that's kind of the message I always have for young kids. Like, don't let your upbringing, don't let your situation be an excuse. Use it as a chip on your shoulder. Like if you've had a rough go with family, if you've been bullied, if whatever, you're not getting picked for teams. Yeah, dwell on it for a night and then reassess in your mind, write down, okay, I'm not going to let this happen again by doing X, Y, Z. Or did I put my work in off season? Did I come back and develop my left hand, like Coach said? Am I showing up on time or am I showing up late? Am I eating right? Am I eating McDonald's every day? Like all those small things. If you're doing all the right things, eventually it's going to work out for you, whether it be sport or life. So that's kind of the message I have for kids.
Dude, you said it all right there, man. You definitely said it all. Man, I guess what I want to ask you now is that probably the NBA now, the way that things are going. I mean, I know you probably see what's going on with Brooklyn and different things. Has the game changed now more since you've been in there, or is that pretty much the way things were when you were there? I'm thinking it's changed so much here recently because, with the revelations and now how things are going. What do you think? I mean, what do you think? Like, yeah, and I mentioned Brooklyn because really that's like the big thing out there now. What's going to happen with KD?
Yeah, it has changed. I mean, players, the player empowerment's probably swung too far towards players, in my opinion. And I'm saying this as a former player. I think there's a balance there. Like 20 years ago, it was too much towards the owners and the coaches and the GMs. And now I think it's just taking baby steps, but now it's gone too far this way. So I think, there needs to be a balance there where you still got to respect your coach and your GM. And unfortunately, star players get disgruntled and there's no patience. There's no like, I got to grind out a year that's going to be tough to get to the top. It's none of that. It's like, I'm just going to join someone else, right? So it's changed from that aspect for the most part, I think. I'm not sure if that's the best thing in the world for the NBA, but we'll see. And then the game's obviously changed. Like small balls, it's here to stay. The way the game's kind of coached is different now. There's when you have guys like Steph Curry and whatnot, they've changed the game, right? Like it's just completely turned the game on its head as far as spacing and what's valuable. And then you factor in analytics. You've got, computer nerds, but you've got computer nerds, which I respect analytics to an extent, that are sitting there and just pumping out numbers and that they're dictating what a coach does. There's teams that dictate what they do strictly based on numbers, right? So it's completely changed. And that, if you would have mentioned that 20 years ago, a coach would throw you out the window, right? It's really changed. So, and I think the biggest thing for coaches, it's not even X's and O's, it's not even having good sets or it's straight people management. That's all it is. Like 90% of a head coach's job these days in the NBA is babysitting and people management. If you can get that right, you can be horrible. You can hire an assistant to do X's and O's. As long as you get the personality management right, you're going to be a coach for a long time. And it's kind of changed to where 20 years ago it was all about X's and O's, and they were just, we don't care if you treat your players bad. Whereas now it's kind of, you got to establish those relationships. So it's been interesting.
Again, Andrew, thank you so much, man, for tuning in with us. Man, I want to personally stay connected with you, man. I just could listen to you all day long. I'm going to be definitely watching for you on all the podcasts. Man, you're
Appreciate
such an interesting guy, and I love your take. And me and you, we a lot alike. But again, thank you so much, man. And for all of us over here at Bounce, man, much love, success for you in the future. And hey, I'm thinking one of these days you're gonna be prime minister, and by then I'll have
it. I
citizens.
doubt it.
And then
I'm not into politics, brother.
we're gonna vote for you, brother. I love it. I love you. But again, man,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. And
Thank
man,
you.
we'll see you soon down the road, and be blessed.